Hi, my name is Mike De La Rocha. I'm the co-founder of Revolve Impact and the Coffee Roasters, and I just want to say thank you. It's a privilege to be able to share my story, and hopefully, you could see your story, mine, because all of our stories are interrelated. I thought it'd be great or best for me to talk about during this next 10 to 12 minutes, really in three sections. The first section is just the importance of knowing who you are. The second is how to remember your purpose in life. And the third is really around being in service to others. And so my story begins in the fields of Oxnard, California, where I was born. I was born in Oxnard and raised in Ventura, California. I'm proud to say I was raised by two teachers. My father is an immigrant from Chihuahua, Mexico, and has been a Chicano studies and history, Latin American history, and US history professor in the community college district for over 41 years. And my mother is a teacher for Head Start, which is a federal bilingual education program for low income, predominantly Latino students. And so I really credit them for providing me with the foundation around understanding the importance of education and culture and history. And I really am blessed and privileged to rely on them. I grew up in the 80s at a time where it was predominantly middle to lower middle class. And my mother, like a lot of Chicana mothers, is a devout Catholic. And so she worked multiple jobs so that she could pay for me to go to private Catholic school. And although I didn't become a priest like she wanted, I did learn the values of compassion and love and generosity. And that experience really helped inform the rest of my life, both in the good and the challenging parts. The challenging parts was I didn't speak English until I went to school. And growing up and not having the language, um, I was ridiculed and has impacted my own ability even today, my self consciousness around speaking Spanish around others. But it also informed who I am because at that point, I learned really what it was like to feel alone or feel like the only one and isolated. And while that was challenging, it also allowed me to embrace who I was and to find my community and my culture in these subcultures, whether it was me listening to punk music or skateboarding or being with other Latinos and people of color. I was able to find my tribe in this sense of isolation. And so I really got to understand that I wasn't unique, that there were a lot of other folks that had similar experiences. And it was, us coming together that allowed me to feel more whole and able to be my full authentic self. But then I went to UCLA when I was 17 and I met a mentor, a Black South African revolutionary by the name of Tim Nubaini, who really taught me the critical importance of knowledge of self and knowing who you were. To know about your family lineage and history, so you can know where you're going, because you knew what the mistakes and the victories of the past were. And couple that with my father, who's an avid reader and just absolutely in love with Mexican culture and history. I got to understand who I was as a Chicano, as a person of Mexican descent that's a mix of both African and indigenous and Spanish ancestry. I was able to understand not just the resistance to colonization, but also um, of the beauty and brilliance of our gente, of the fact that we are some of the greatest scientists and artists and storytellers that the world's ever known. And so that sense of cultural pride allowed me to really understand, like, wow, I'm part of this incredible diaspora of all shades of Latinos that have really contributed to the success of not just our country of origins, but of the world. And in that process, I met someone who taught me, Mike, the purpose of life is really about remembering what your purpose is. And I asked, well, what does that mean? And they said, your purpose is essentially what makes you feel the most joy, the most happy, and you do that. But you don't do that for yourself. You do that in service to others. So it's about remembering your gifts and talents and using that to help better the planet, help better the world, help better yourself and your family. And that was a critical point for me because I was like, well, what do I love to do? And I realized that for me, I loved to use music and writing and art and organizing as a way to bring people together. I love to be a bridge builder because I know that life is so much about relationships. It's about bringing people together. And so that's what propelled me to co-found Revolve Impact, which is an incredible organization that uses art and culture to transform people and policies and systems. And Tepito Coffee Roasters, which I co-founded with a dear friend of mine, Richard Cabral, which is using coffee as a vehicle to bring two continents together, specifically Mexico and the United States, or more specifically Veracruz and Boyle Heights, and to use both companies as a way to reach towards those oftentimes society runs away from, and really say, hey, you know what? I love you, and we are part of the same community. And so in that process, though, it was one of transformation and getting to know who I was, but I also really realized that through all this stuff, um, it's difficult to be the first. In the West, or at least capitalist society, wants us to believe that everything we do is for ourselves, that it's based upon individualism or success for you. And our cultural traditions, our practices, our history is actually one of family and community. And so the more that we remember and dig deep into, those customs and practices that make us who we are as Latinos, it's one of community. I cannot do what I do without others. There's a beautiful saying that "Tú eres mi otro yo," or "I am because we are," and I believe that to the core of my being, in the sense of like spiritually and culturally, we may have different experiences, but we are connected in so many more ways. And a movement that helped make me who I am today was the Zapatista movement of Southern Mexico, based out of Chiapas. And Subcomandante Marcos says that we are the same because we are different. And I truly believe that. And as much as society or culture wants us to be copycats of each other, the greatest thing I've learned in business and in organizing is the more that we can embrace all of our different identities and backgrounds and multiplicity of experiences, the more that we love up and embrace that, the more success we will have, the more freedom and liberation we will have, because we will be our authentic selves. And I would love to close with a story. I don't know who said this, and so I apologize. But those of us that have had the privilege and honor of being parents, or of seeing a baby being born. When a baby is born, they're brought into this world with their hands really, really closed, clenched tight. It's so tight you can't put anything in the hands. And what they say, based upon African and spiritual traditions, our traditions, is the reason why babies are born and coming into this world with their hands so tight is because they're holding their unique gifts and talents from the spirit world, from the world where our ancestors are, where our elders will go, where all of us will go. And so whether you believe in creator or source or God or whatever, where we come from, we have a purpose. We have these unique gifts and talents. And the real purpose of life, I would argue, of anything, life, business, community organizing, teachers, what have you, is life is about opening your hands, and really sharing your gifts with the world, sharing what you were brought here to do. But at the same time, my hands open is the beauty is not only my sharing, but I'm also receiving. And I think that's ultimately what I want to leave you with, is that our lives are interconnected and so directly, in so many ways. As much as folks want us to think the opposite, it's the actual truth that we are connected on various different levels. And so I just wanted to really thank you for not only what you're doing, but what you will do. Thank you as a father, as a son, as a business owner, because whether or not you know it, you giving of yourself in service to others, in service to the world, impacts folks you will never see. And that is part of the magic and beauty, the tapestry of being alive. And so I just want to thank you for the opportunity to share. I look forward to learning, and hopefully in this post-COVID era, there can be some time for personal, physical kind of coming together. But at the end of the day, I just really want to say thank you for the opportunity. I encourage you to continue to love yourself. That's the most revolutionary and radical act you could do, especially in spite of all the systems and policies and ways that people view us. But at the end of the day, I just want to remind you of how great, beautiful, and inspiring you are. And so thank you very much. And I look forward to many more.